Matt and Daniel, the directors, back in 2015 on a training in Hanoi. And we've stayed friends ever since, as well as colleagues. I love the work that they do. And that's why you're seeing me this morning, because I'm doing a bit of help at the moment in facilitating these calls, which we hope will be a series. These are going to be United Edge learning spaces. And this is an opportunity to speak about the big issues of the world. We have a brilliant panel this morning. We have lots of good discussion, and we have a virtual way of doing it, which I know that we're all becoming experts in at this moment in time. A few little Zoom housekeepings before I kind of turn it over to Matt, who's going to be leading the discussion. Firstly, just to try and keep that human aspect, and totally understand if no one wants to, but it'd be great if you can turn your cameras on, like our speakers and our directors today. Again, you don't have to, but if you'd like to, we'd love to have that human aspect if you can turn your cameras on. As you can see, everyone is muted on entry. Your microphones are muted, so please stay on mute to respect the speakers and to keep back noise at a minimum. There may be the opportunity to speak a little bit later, but at the moment we're probably going to do questions and answers in the chat box, which I'll talk about now. So just to make sure we all can see the chat box, can everybody type in where they're calling in from this morning? Can you write which country or which city you're calling into? I want to read the chat box and see who we've got on the call here. So go ahead, write in there. We've got London, we've got Australia, India,
I
Philippines.
cannot hear anything.
Okay, can everybody else
Hello?
hear okay? I'm guessing so. Yeah, Novia will help with your audio in a minute. Novia is one of our...
I cannot hear anything.
Okay,
We
Novia.
hear perfectly.
Just, yeah, thank you guys. Okay. I will help her in a minute. So Matt, I'm going to pass over to you to start off with the introduction there. I think that was everything with that was everything with my introduction. But yeah, everybody, really delighted you can join us today, and let's have a fantastic call. So Matt, over to you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Could I get a thumbs up if you're hearing me okay? Okay, fantastic. It's really good. I see we've got about 50 people joining this call, and I'm so thrilled about it for two reasons. First, there are a lot of new faces here that I've never seen before, and it's so nice to see new smiling faces from around the world. And second, a lot of people I haven't seen in a very long time. So just thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Thank you to Will for bringing us into this Zoom room together. We're probably all becoming experts at these online spaces now. My name is Matt. As Will said, my name is Matt from United Edge, and I'm also here with my co-director, Daniel Bevin. Daniel is just going to jump in at any point if I have problems with my internet connection here, so he's here as a backup, just so you know. Thank you so much for your time. I would love to just set the stage before we go into our panel discussion and question and answer. Today, as you know, we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic, money, cash, and what it might be able to do for good. So this topic has come up obviously because we're facing a global pandemic, and many people right now are facing the evil side of money, right? The lack of it, the lack of their livelihoods, and the inequality that comes because of this system. At the same time, so many people have stepped up to support their communities, their friends, their families, their networks, people on the other side of the world. I don't know about you, but my news feed is full of just inspiring stories of, and I'm getting the sun coming in, but mutual aid groups and other alternative models of people starting to maybe create signs of a better normal that can gain ground even after this. So in this context, a lot of people have asked us recently, what is the best way that they can support others right now? And so for those of you that don't know us, because I think we do have a lot of new faces on the call, we are United Edge, a social enterprise that supports people all around the world, but people like you, essentially, humanitarian development workers, social change workers, researchers, environmental justice workers, basically anyone trying to make the world a better place. And we use a lens called the justice-based approach to do this. So this is a lens to make sure that we're not just changing the world, but we're actually aiming for something more positive and justice as an end goal. So the justice-based approach basically says, you don't need to be experts in this, but it says 5 things, essentially, that to reach justice, we must align our actions and our decision-making to alternative models that will replace oppressive systems with healthy ones and hold power to account. Essentially, those 5 things is what makes up this lens. So again, that's actions, decisions, models, systems, and accountability. And this whole lens is built on a foundation of human rights, but it goes beyond that foundation to fill in the limitations that have arisen in the last 2 decades of trying to make change happen. You can learn all about that more on our website if you want to. We have a series of trainings that we love running coming up around Asia and Africa, and there's lots of information. We'd love to have you join if you want to. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because I want to put all of our cards on the table for this call. We believe basically that giving money instead of stuff is one of these alternative models. It's an alternative model that we believe can shift power. But when we gave this tip to people who asked us how they can support right now, it generated a lot of controversy, and to be honest, more controversy than we were expecting. We said, just give people cash. Don't give stuff, give cash, or cash transfers. Find a way for people to be able to decide how to solve their own problems, their own challenges. And a lot of people push back saying, well, maybe they'll spend it on the wrong thing, or it could get lost, or it could fall into the wrong hands. Or actually, even more so, people said, there was an assumption, I should say, that a lot of people felt like people don't deserve getting something for nothing, that especially when it comes to money, we should have to work for it. We actually believe that this model is more than just about money. It's about shifting power in decision-making. Because right now in the world today, it's safe to say the wrong people are making decisions. We've got people in the global north making decisions for the majority world. We've got white people making decisions for black and brown people around the world. We've got men making decisions for women, and on and on. We have too many humanitarians making decisions for people in need that we're here to serve. So cash isn't just about money. It's actually about giving people a tool to say, we know that you know your problems better than we do. And we know that with this tool, you can decide what you need, when you need it, what to buy, and from where. So we believe that this tool is about shifting decision-making and therefore shifting power. But a lot of the big questions are still there. Because right now, in the face of COVID-19, and in the face of other emergencies, it isn't just this moment that people need more agency over their lives. It's everyday life. One of the biggest problems in the world is poverty. And we're also wanting to expand the conversation to say, you know what, like giving people money to face their challenges of poverty could be one of the solutions that is far more effective than everything else we're doing. A universal basic income for everyone. We think this could create just like a big bang for justice. So does it work? What are the problems with it? How can we help people now suffering COVID-19? And also, what does the future have in store? These are the questions we're here to talk about. Innovations in using money, whether as cash transfers in emergencies or universal basic income. And we've got 4 wonderful panelists giving their time and energy to this. Thank you so much. And I would just love to introduce the panelists now, and then we'll go one by one through the panelists and then open it up for everyone to ask questions and discuss.
Matt, just before you do your introductions there, and this was my own fault because of just rushing through the introductions in the beginning, just wanted to let everyone know that the call is being recorded. So thought obviously I should let you all know as we want to share this discussion with the community beyond everyone who's on today. So just wanted to jump in there, Matt, and let everybody know that. But back to you for the introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Thank you, Will. It's really important to say. Right, so 4 panelists, and we're from very different perspectives. We wanted to share perspectives from around the world and also different sectors. So thank you. We will have Esther Mbogho, apologies for my pronunciation, from Cash Learning Partnership. She has a passion for development and humanitarian action and has been with Cash Learning Partnership HELP since 2014, advocating for people facing crisis. We'll also hear from Tahmina Zabeen, calling in from Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. She works with the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, helping to support Rohingya refugee and host communities near Cox's Bazar. She's also a passionate activist and passionate about gender empowerment, and we're so glad that you can be here, Tahmina. We'll also hear from Noia Sagita, calling in from Kalimantan in Indonesia. She directs Planet Indonesia, a fantastic grassroots organization making amazing strides in environmental justice using a community cooperative model to distribute funds for conservation. I'm very excited to hear more from you, Noia. And we also have Anna Stone calling in from Tel Aviv. Anna is a strategy advisor for GoodDollar. GoodDollar is a new and exciting technology solution for how to solve the problem of distributing money. How do you distribute money, whether it's in emergencies or more broadly as a universal basic income? And GoodDollar has a incredible vision of universal basic income for everyone. So I'm looking forward to Anna's presentation of sharing with us a technology solution as well. I think that's enough for me because we want to make sure to give enough time to all the panelists. So just in that order, we'll start with you, Esther, if that's okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you so much, Matt, for that wonderful introduction. I think you've said everything I was going to say, so maybe I can just leave the call right now. Just kidding.
But you have the experience.
So as Matt has introduced me, I'm a program officer for the Cash Learning Partnership. Currently, we are rebranding, and I'll explain that in my presentation. So we are now the CALP network. I'm a program officer. I work in the East and Southern Africa region. We are based in Nairobi. So how I like to go about this is I'll take you through a presentation, and then possibly the questions, I guess, will come at the end of all the other presentations, if I'm not wrong, Matt, but you'll guide. So allow me to share my screen. Can everyone see the screen? Okay. All right. So yes, CALP, the Cash Learning Partnership, CALP Network. We were founded in 2005. And our role mainly was to play an instrumental role in advancing the use of cash and voucher assistance as an effective tool in humanitarian response. The founding members were SCF, British Red Cross, Oxfam, NRC, and Save the Children. Although after 10 years with much conversation and the board came together and we decided to open it up to other members. And currently we are a network of more than 90 members, bringing together quite a diverse range of views and actors. We have donors, we have national NGOs, we have international NGOs, we have academia, we have individual consultants, we have the UN bodies, and all these come together to enrich our work. So the Secretariat comprises of staff spread out across the globe. We have offices in the Americas, in North America, Canada, and South America. In Africa, as I've mentioned, East and Southern Africa office sits in Nairobi, and in Dakar, our office covers West and Central Africa. In Europe, we have offices in the UK and Switzerland. In Middle East and North Africa, we have an office in Jordan. And we are currently exploring reopening the Asia Pacific office. However, we still work and support the region through the regional cash working group, and we have country cash working groups. So in general, CALP envisions a future where women and men are enabled to overcome crisis with dignity by exercising their choice and right to self-determination. And we believe this will help to sustain their well-being over time. Our purpose then is to maximize the potential that humanitarian cash and voucher assistance can bring to women and men in context of crisis as one component of the broader financial assistance. Understanding that this is just one tool, we have many others, and we all need this to work in tandem for the benefit of the people in crisis. Our goal is to radically increase the scale and quality of cash and voucher assistance as a tool for humanitarian assistance. Please let me know if I'm going too fast. So how we work, we have 4 main areas of focus. First area is in capacity building. We provide opportunities for individuals to build knowledge and expertise and work with humanitarian organizations to promote innovation and good practice in CVA. So we have this delivered via standard training activities, we have specialized workshops, and we also have self-directed capacity building opportunities. We have an online study portal, which is among some of the resources Matt will share at the end. We also work in coordination. We provide support to coordination mechanisms at national, regional, and global levels. As I've mentioned, for example, in Asia Pacific, we have country working groups, and we have the regional cash working group. We also work in knowledge management and research, bringing together knowledge and research and contribute to the growing evidence base on how to best achieve scale and quality in CVA within the humanitarian sector. In policy, CALP convenes and conducts independent analysis of key debates within CVA and help to identify the common ground that enables progress. I want to emphasize that we are neutral. We do not take sides. What we do is convene the discussions and allow every side to give the points and views. So back to the general statistics and where we are at. I believe these statistics are things we already have a clue of, we already know, we can see the world over. 1 in every 70 people around the world is caught up in crisis. And I believe this number is higher now with the COVID-19 pandemic. And we need, and they need humanitarian assistance and protection. But one thing, speaking from the humanitarian perspective, as that's the sector I'm coming from, one thing humanitarian actors sometimes can tend to forget the individual story. So you take people as a group. For example, you know, it's the Rohingya refugees, it's the people in Venezuela, it's the people caught up in the South Sudan wars. But we need to come back and understand and remember that every person has a story, has hopes, has dreams, has contributions to make and challenges to overcome. They're individuals, they have individual needs and preferences. And according to UNOCHA, they had done some surveys, and when most people were asked, most people affected by crisis, when they were asked if they would prefer cash to in-kind, most prefer cash, just so that they can be able to make their own choices based on their priorities. Just to elaborate further on the topic and on this issue, we believe that when families are given cash, they're able to buy what they need, and this will enable, you know, wastage. This will avoid wastage. There's a lot that would be wasted. I know people would be given, for example, food, and you find them in the market selling the food for even half the cost because it didn't really cover all their needs. And there was one survey done in the Middle East, recipients of humanitarian assistance rated aid agencies' success in meeting their priority needs at just 3 out of 10. I think that's quite a low number in my opinion, and we definitely need to do better. We need to listen more. We need to be accountable to the people in crisis. And further to that, even for the economy, financial aid is seen to have an economic multiplier effect. It is seen to help strengthen businesses, increase consumption, and create jobs for the benefit of the entire community. When the markets are strengthened and grow, jobs are created, you then have a more sustainable model for the people in crisis. And you're able to enable them get out of the crisis better. Financial aid is also increasingly delivered directly to families via bank accounts and other formal traceable channels. You know, we now have mobile money. I'm sure Anna will elaborate further on the channels they use. And this is seen to bring more people in the formal financial system. You're enabling financial inclusion, making it easier also for governments to collect taxes, and hoping that the governments will then use these taxes to create infrastructure, you know, enable the growth of the economy. Again, making it a more sustainable model. The disclaimer here is that aid itself is not taxed. The Global Public Policy Institute estimated that financial aid could be appropriate in 70 to 80% of all humanitarian crises, either on its own or in conjunction with in-kind aid and other assistance. We are currently working on a document, State of the World Cash Report 2. The first report had been launched in 2018. We've now gathered more information. We have more statistics up till now. So I'd like to just ensure that you guys will watch out for this report. It will have much more information to where we are right now, where CVA uptake is concerned in the humanitarian sphere. So that's, we're excited about that. We'd like you to keep in touch, and I'm sure Matt will share some of the information we'll put up. Now, lastly, after all is said and done, and after we've argued for the case of cash, we'd like to remind everyone that in as much as it's a recognized humanitarian response tool, we now need to ensure that an even stronger focus on quality is there. It is just like any other program. There are various intersections. It boils down to good programming. We need to understand that it's not a silver bullet. It might not work in every context. So again, accountability to the people in crisis is key, just so you listen to where they're telling you that it's not appropriate. And through our ability to convene debates and influence policy, we're trying to ensure that the increasing use of cash and voucher assistance, is accompanied by a growing understanding of its intersection with critical issues such as protection, where we're talking about gender, gender-based violence issues, child protection, also data responsibility and risk, where, for example, you're working with the financial service providers and they're collecting all this data for the people affected by crisis. Is this data protected? Can a government come and request to have that data and maybe use it to target a certain group of people? So having all these things in mind, these are the conversations we're now having, as a lot more people are on board. So it's a matter of ensuring quality now. And to do this, we will then for sure place the needs and preferences of people affected by crisis at the center of our decision making, and we'll be able to support others to do the same. So this is what I have to say for now until we start our discussions. I'll just highlight some of our resources. We have our website, we have D groups, which is our discussion groups where all actors come together, have various discussions, share documents and views. We have newsletters. There's a form there if anyone would be interested later to sign up. We normally encourage members of the community of practice to submit their resources, their research work, so that others can be able to access and learn from each other. And also we have a link for the community in Asia Pacific, where we have links and contacts to the country and the regional cash working group. So that's it. Yes.
That is fantastic, and so many resources in there that we'll be able to share even after this call. So thank you so much. I would love to shift to Tahmina if you're still there. Yeah, I see you there. And as I said, Tahmina is calling in from Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh.
Hello everyone. First of all, I'm very sorry for the noise here because I have a power cut and I have to open my window and everything. So it's on the street, lots of noise coming in. Sorry for that. So I'm Tahmina Zabeen, as you already heard from Matt, that I work for UNHCR here in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, and I'm working for the Rohingya refugee operation here. And my unit is cash-based intervention. And after Esther's presentation, I think I don't need to tell anything about that, why cash is so important for us and how cash can shift power. She told everything. So I'll directly go, I'll share a simple slides, the projects we are doing here in Cox's Bazar from the UNHCR side. Though UNHCR mandate is to work mostly for refugees, but obviously we do some work for the host communities as well, because we believe that And this is the truth that host community bear so much burden because of this influx and everything. So currently we are implementing several projects for the host community for cash thing, and among them for the COVID response as well, and for the social safety net thing as well. So I will first share my screen and then I'll go through all of those projects which we are implementing. Let me share. I hope you can see. So the three projects we are implementing for the host communities. First of all, the UNHCR Social Safety Net project. So Social Safety Net project is actually the government project. We are just complementing the government to support extra people in the Cox's Bazar region because we felt after the influx, the low-income group people here lost their livelihoods because there is a growing competition in the labor market. And also for the COVID situation as well, the low-income group couldn't really can come out and work, and the economic situation is really bad. So this one is we are supporting nearly 17,000 households in Ukhia and Teknaf, and it is through the financial service provider we call Bangladesh Post Office, that is the government financial service provider. And as you know, UNHCR, all the projects we are implementing through our implementing partners, and this one is for World Vision International, they are implementing for us. And we are transferring money to their category is the vulnerable population, but obviously we have targeting criteria. So we verify people, first of all, we target people, and then we verify them and we deliver cash to them. So for this one, social safety net, we targeted widow, elderly, and disabled person, and according to the government criteria, government social safety net criteria, and it's like 500 BDT per month for widow and elderly, and 700 BDT per month for the disabled person. I understand that this is a very little amount of money, but we couldn't go beyond that because that is the government structure. All over the country, government implement this project. So even if we want to, we can't go. We can't give them extra because we need to complement the government system. So that's one. And the second one is the recently we are implementing is the livelihood project because of this COVID response. So we are almost supporting 16,000 households again. And here our partner is BRAC, CNRS, Mukti, and BDRCS. And we are again using Bangladesh Post Office. And also for this one, we are using the mobile money as well, because we felt that COVID situation actually really told us that you can't, like the maintaining social distance and other reasons, other health measures, we had to go through this mobile money. But the problem for mobile money is that the population we are working with, it's living in a very remote area, and most of them are sometimes illiterate and they don't know how to use the mobile money. So we combine both cash in hand and also mobile money as well for this one. So for this project, people will get 4,500 BDT. It's a one-off per household, and we selected them according to the livelihood requirements of UNHCR, which the other projects we have here. And the third project we are going to do is like this COVID situation actually told us that we need to prepare for future in a way that cash in hand requires lots of resources and human resources and logistical, lots of issues as well. So we thought that if we have the mobile platform ready for our beneficiaries, we can directly go to them anytime we want. So we want to do a mobile pilot, mobile money pilot. That would be a cash transfer for 3,000 households. It's like the same social safety net criteria will go here, but the transfer modality will be mobile money. So these three projects are for the host communities, but obviously I would tell something about the refugee population as well. You know that after 2017, the Rohingya influx after happened, it's like lots of in-kind. It's like people are flooded, but if you ever come to this area, you will see the markets are flooded with those in-kind products. Even if I just step out of my door and I can see UNHCR name tarpaulin, UNHCR food or USAID food all over Cox's Bazar, you can buy all these things. So What's the point? You are giving people in kind, food, shelter, whatever. The moment you distribute, by the night, overnight, it comes to the market because they sell it, and they sell it almost half of the price. Like, we had to bring all the way to the camps, all these things, and then it comes back to the market again. Because people want to spend the money how they want it to be. It's their choice. So cash gives them power. But unfortunately, UNHCR is directly, we can't really implement cash at this moment. There are reasons. Obviously, one of the most biggest reason is the government restriction, distributing cash into the camps. And another reason is the access to the financial service providers in the camp, and the identity of the refugees as well. So the Bangladesh Central Bank, they have a requirement that if you want to link to any financial service providers, you have to have a national identity card. But Rohingya refugees, obviously, they are not Bangladeshi nationals. They don't have the identity card. So how can we link them? So we couldn't. But obviously, UNHCR provides a registration for the refugees. All of the refugees are registered here, and they have their registration card. In future, if we can link this refugee registration card as an identity with a financial service provider, we will be able to obviously bring financial service providers into the camp as well. But there are some alternative options as well. As Esther mentioned, voucher. There are many agencies and INGOs and other NGOs, they are doing cash vouchers. So it's like some are doing it for fresh food. So you can get a 900 taka voucher and go to a certain shops and you can cash it out. And obviously WFP and other organizations who are doing this kind of, so they set up a shop and you can go there, you have some sort of a point system or card, you can go there and you can buy whatever you want. And we have a plan for as well by UNHCR that in future, if we sort all these problems like the government restrictions and the financial service providers issues, we'll go for camp as well. So yeah, I think that's all for now. And after when question comes, I can answer.
Thank you so much, Tahmina. There's just so much food for thought in there. So thank you. And I'm sure a lot of interesting questions will come up. Let's move then to Noia. Noia, can you hear me? Just make sure we can get Noia.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, fantastic. All right, go ahead and share your pictures.
Hello all. Thank you very much for this afternoon opportunity. Thank you, Matt and Daniel, for asking me to be part of this learning call. Okay. Mind my English and my possible English, but I'm trying my best. I do my best. This afternoon I am going to share about one of our knowledge product which we use that we used to do with the community to deliver the cash recently. So this afternoon I'm going to share my PowerPoint, but photos, and I'm going to explain each photos because I like very much tell a story from photos. Thank you. Where is it? Sorry. Oh, one moment.
No worries, Noia. Fantastic. Yeah, just go ahead and find. I know it's not always easy to find the place on the screen to share and everything, so just go ahead and take a moment to do that. No worries. Yeah, it's coming up.
Okay.
We can see that.
Yeah, can you see it? All right. My name is Noia Sagita, and then I'm from Indonesia, in Borneo, in the west part actually. About 6 years ago, I founding my own organizations and then focus on community empowerment and conservation aspects. But before that, yeah, I've been working for NGO sector for I think now must be more than 20 years now. So oh, sorry. One moment. I think I'm doing the wrong.
That's
one
okay.
Moment. One moment.
I think you'll need to click on the sharing screen again button. If you see that.
Yeah. Okay, now it is. Okay, can you see it?
Awesome. Yeah, it's coming up.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
And
So yeah. So one of our my organization is called Yayasan Planet Indonesia. So one of the knowledge product that we use to work with the community is a conservation cooperative, which is like we believe at the moment that is a appropriate approach that we like we can use that work together with the community to achieve what is it like all the programs that we designed together with the community. Before I introduce you about the conservation cooperative, I just want to share you about like recently we just launched our what is it relief aid for the community to our beneficiaries at our coastal project. At coastal area is about like 550 beneficiaries receive our relief fund for COVID pandemic fund. And at the same time as well, we are also able to what is it to take some what is it like a monitoring survey to find out about like it's like a pre-monitoring survey to find out about the impact of the COVID-19 in the area where we are working with the community. In terms of the economic or the and other sector, you know, that's like impact to the community. So we took about like 60 samplings to find out about like you know like from the community about like is there other relief aid that they receive from government or from other organization that comes to their community. They comes from with a logistic, or they come with a money cash, or they come with in combinations. So mostly they said about 60% they receive relief aid in a logistic, in a what is it like food supplies, and the rest percentage okay in money. And they receive these from government, and they receive from churches, from the mosques, and from also from other small organization. And also we asking about what is the most what is it like sector that impact on us on them during the pandemic period. And most of them, I think about like 37% of the sampling we took telling us about like yeah, it's impacted so much on their economic sector. And the second is education and other stuff. And so from the relief aid or the cash that we are distributing to them. We were asking also what are they going to do with the money, and then mostly they are going to buy, because they are living in the coastal areas, they are fishermen. So mostly they are going to use that money to buy oil, because they need oil to for their transport. So they allow them to catch the fish. And some of them, they buy some seedlings because they want to grow some vegetables. And some of them going to use the money to pay their school children. And then and others, like something like their obligation, like for the electricity, for the daily needs. And yeah, so we are using so our organization, or my organization, Planet Indonesia, we established this conservation cooperative. It's like a platform that we built with the community. So to put up like a what is it, like it's like an association or a group of people that who unite themselves to conduct businesses in the fields of economic, education, health, and culture that aims to improve the equitable welfare and its member while maintaining balance and preservation of aspect environmental conservation with the principles of by and for members. So that's the conservation cooperative that we established with the community. This this approach, this this platform we established because we believe is that approach that can be taken to to overcome problems through the establishment this group, which is like expected to to coordinating activities that we going to conduct or implement with the communities in a purpose improving the community's economic and also in the same time creating alternative sources of income that from the sector of economical, ecological, and sustainable wise. Yeah, so this this conservation cooperative also is we expected to to be function in the community as as an agent of a change in the community, as a can help community be a pioneer to their own environment movement, and as a partner implementing empowerment program, as a pioneer of the community movement that attendance and deliberation in running the organizations.
That's fantastic, Noia.
Yeah. So who is this conservation cooperative? Is actually is a community that it can be fishermen, it can be farmers, it can be crafters, it can be they can be from traders that comes from the community, or any group in the community that active like that, what they want to improve their living condition. Also that the community that wants to have a same equal quality opportunity in life, like economic opportunity and education and health access in a better way. That's who this this conservation cooperative.
Thanks, Novia. I'm just conscious of time because your pictures are fantastic. And I'd love to just, is it okay if we skip forward to, you have a slide on how, which I was really interested in. Is it okay to skip forward to that one?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When we using this, when we are using this conservation cooperative, is when is appropriate. You know, like when together with the community we can manage to define the problem within the community. Such as like from the economic perspective, culture, education, health, and environment, and where at the moment we are working at the two sites, coastal and terrestrial sites, and mostly we are working in the protected areas and with the risk community, that community that living within buffer zone areas that lacking with the accesses, health, education, and economic opportunities. Why we are using this approach? Because together with the community we recognize that there are challenges within the community, such as how low the capacity within the community to manage their own local resources. And also the potential to see that within the community that there's to change the behavior of the community towards of the aspect of economic, health, and education that they want to change. And how we doing it with the community is my organization believe is the empowering community is already achieving the word of sustainability, because that is human resources is the first thing have to come to be the main actor for the sustainability, so the community can achieve their goal to have their better economic condition and better environment surround them, and then through them we believe together with the community we can become a catalyst, a communicator, and dynamicator, and with this tool we believe together with the community we can exploring the existing business that can be built as a new businesses in the community, to transfer asset, to start business, development of independent capital through savings, and loan and transfer of knowledge through entrepreneurship and leadership training, and building mutually beneficial business partnership with outside parties. I think that's I can share at this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Novia. And I really encourage everyone to find out more about Planet Indonesia, because what you've shared here is just the tip of the amazing iceberg that you are. So thank you so much. And I'd love to move to Anna for your little presentation, and then we'll move to questions after. If anyone has questions for the panelists, feel free to even start writing them in the chat now, or throughout the last presentation, and then we'll be able to gauge the discussion afterwards. But let's go to you first, Anna.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, United Edge team for having me here today to talk about GoodDollar.org. I'm a bit of a unique guest compared to the other women that we've just heard from, in that GoodDollar is not actually an organization that works on the ground per se. We are a technology company that works to really advance the thinking tools and frameworks upon which we might be able to deliver basic income. And as Matt kind of clued in here, basic income on a global scale. And we do this through examining new ways that we can create value and, importantly, transfer value through leveraging new blockchain technologies. And so what I'm going to do today is give you a little bit of an introduction to the GoodDollar project and the experience of what we're trying to create, and a slight introduction in terms of how we try to do what we're doing. I will really not focus there. But before I get started, I would just like to avail myself as a resource for anyone who is interested to learn more about blockchain and financial inclusion applications in general. There is a lot of really interesting work that's occurring, I would say, primarily within two hats. One is the area that's focused on the how, so distribution. How do we distribute money to people? How do we distribute money to people without identity? How do we distribute low cost transactions, high volume transactions for low cost? How do we deal with microtransactions? That's one set of the house, which there are a lot of organizations working on that. But arguably more important actually refers back to the what of what is the product, what is the currency, what is the value. And this kind of goes back to where Matt started his introduction, which is that money is a tool, money is a technology. And we forget about that often because we take money or our currency as a God-given thing from on high, and that's not necessarily true. Money is a human innovation, and it's a tool that we use to collaborate with one another. So there's a lot of really, I would say, there's a lot of fascinating theoretical learning to be done around the theory of money and what is money and why does money work the way it does. I'm not going to get into that today, but that's a big part of the work that we do at GoodDollar and other projects in this space, is not just looking at the how, not just looking at the distribution methodology, but really fundamentally looking at the what, and what are the tools that we're bringing to this space, and how can we bring platforms and tools to people that allow them to better collaborate amongst themselves for themselves. Okay, so and this is a very important part to what GoodDollar is doing, because it's a currency and that comes with a theory of adoption, and fundamental to that is people and how they use money, and how this actually impacts people on the ground. I think, so with that as a little bit of a precursor, I'm gonna jump into the presentation, but there's no way we're gonna cover everything today. And so I just wanna to preface that. And Matt, also, I'm not gonna be able to see the chat once I start presenting, so please interrupt me if I go on too long.
For sure, no problem.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, that's coming through.
Great. Okay, so quickly, GoodDollar.org. I encourage you all to check out our website after this presentation, and I will be sending through what we look at today, so don't worry about that. We ourselves are a nonprofit organization, but we're, I would say, a technology special missions operation, if you will. We're a side project working out of eToro.com. This is a capital markets trading platform, actually, and we're a research house that is funded and founded by UNHCR. He's the founder there. All about how do we make digital assets more accessible to more people, okay? Let's talk quickly about what is universal basic income to make sure everyone is aligned in the definition of what we're talking about. First of all, we're talking about a recurring or periodic cash payment, where if in the case of GoodDollar, we're talking about digital cash. It's universal, which means that it's paid to all on an individual basis, unconditioned by good behavior or bad behavior. Okay, so that's the definition that we use. There's lots of other frameworks out there about how is best to administer it, but this is the definition that we really use. Why are we here? I don't feel the need to convey this to this crowd, but needless to say, we're facing massive inequality. And I think what is relevant for this conversation is this is inequality that is accelerating due to changes across, I would say, macroeconomic forces in the labor market. So regardless of the inequality that we see today, we're at a really, I would say, we're at a moment where there's about to be a massive paradigm shift. And we're seeing it already in terms of as services basically turn towards automation, there will be massive unemployment. And we already are starting to see this happen as a result of the coronavirus effect, where now it's a public health imperative to reduce the amount of interactions that people have, and it will really accelerate, I would say, businesses' adoption of new automation technologies, and more people will lose their jobs as a result of this. So the vision is actually a key part of the GoodDollar vision is that we believe digital assets, new currencies, new digital representations of value will be a key pathway for wealth for the next decades moving forward. So when I say a world where everyone has free access to basic economic assets, what I mean is how can we bring the 1.7 billion that remain unbanked today into the new digital asset class so that there's more wealth for everyone, okay? And our vision is how can we leverage blockchain technologies to actually advance this idea of a global basic income for everyone, money for every human alive, just for fact that you're a live human, and we value that. And our specific objective, what we actually work on, is creating a protocol. And when I say protocol, what I really mean is an infrastructure, okay? How do we create an infrastructure economically, technologically, that allows us to create and pay for a global basic income framework on a global scale? And that's what we work on. So I think that basic income, when we started, basic income was considered a very fringe idea. That's no longer the case. And even over the past few months, we've seen a number of different governments begin to really consider implementing basic income. Spain has announced a commitment. There's different policy proposals throughout Australia. There's over 20 different countries right now that are considering implementing basic income. I wish them a lot of luck, but I don't think it's sufficient, if you will, because ultimately what we're talking about is a massive political overhaul of existing social and welfare systems. And I just quite frankly I believe that as people, we can use technology to move quicker. And I actually, if you were to ask me, I anticipate that looking forward decades into the future, we actually are going to live in a world where there are multiple layers of basic income. So there might be a federal basic income, there might be a state basic income on a city level, on a local level, etc. But I don't think the nation state will take many decades to implement. And so our mission here is how can we leverage new technologies to accelerate our proposition or our belief of what should happen. So how can we create a people-powered network that creates and distributes basic income? A few comments about why blockchain and why it's enabled. First of all, digital wallets and digital currencies solve a lot of problems that exist with existing distribution. So how do you give money to people that don't have bank accounts? That's the first question. How do you do that transfer? So that's a challenge that we can solve through digital wallets, digital transfer, and the key to all of this is ID, right? And unique identity, secure identity, and these are all problems that I feel like over the past decade we've made many advances in that start to solve these challenges. Independent from governments, so no more waiting. So GoodDollar is already delivering hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of value. We don't need to wait. We're about to launch publicly, which is something I'm really interested to talk to solicit this crowd about. We don't need to wait to get started and to start to prove our case and make a compelling use case. Delivery of small transactions. So the GoodDollar model is based around delivering a small daily basic income. That means a small USD value of income. We're talking cents on the dollar, okay? This is not feasible or practical to do using existing mobile money or existing banking systems. The cost doesn't make sense. It will never work because it's just too expensive. And so we're looking at leveraging new technologies that allow for us to do these micro transactions that are key to actually reaching millions and hopefully billions of people. And ultimately, this refers back to my first point is, how do we create money that's actually inclusive by design? Okay, so how do we think a little bit differently about the what, if you will, so that we're not just accepting that we actually rethink about money as a tool that is designed to serve people rather than designed to serve central banks, federal banks, central banks, and commercial banks, okay? So this is a key part of our model and the part that I will talk the least about today, but ultimately, this is very fundamental to what we're working on, is not just working through the US dollar or through the Kenyan shilling or through the Great British Pound or through any other currency, but that's focused around people using new tools, new currencies to collaborate around to break this broken model that does not align the incentives of everyone. So what are the core components of what we're working on? First of all, we have an economic model to generate and pay for a global UBI at scale. I don't want to spend a lot, of course, the question that everyone asks is, well, where does the money come from? How do you do it? I swear we have answers for that. It takes me a while to explain, and the best way to explain it depends on the knowledge and the background of whoever I'm speaking to, but I will introduce the concept, but if you want to know more, I encourage you to reach out to me. We're doing this through the GoodDollar coin, which is a digital coin that is actually the currency we use to distribute value through. It also is a coin that enables the governance of the system. So that ultimately it's not someone like me who decides about the GoodDollar, what are the monetary tools and policies of the GoodDollar economy. It's not me as a staff member, it's actually the people who hold the currency who do so. a wallet which is designed to make it really easy for people to onboard into the GoodDollar economy. Okay, so I don't know how many of you are familiar with cryptocurrencies. It's not an easy experience to get into them. And we are trying to solve a big part of that problem. And as I mentioned, we're working with integrated identity solutions that are focused on one person, one ID to reduce system abuse.
Thanks, Anna. I just want, and conscious that we're maybe running a little bit out of time, and I want to make sure to get to questions. Is there any one thing that you could just say in sum to finish up?
Yes. This is the most important thing I have for this community, for this community actually, is that I have a call to action for everyone here, is that we're in a few weeks, we're looking to launch this model that will deliver around $100 of basic income a day, okay? The model actually divides the amount that pot of basic income against the number of people that want to claim. We're actually at a point in time where we're looking for community organizations to work with and work through, okay? Because even though we're delivering value, ultimately we're also a mission-driven and impact-driven organization. So we want to make monitoring, evaluation, and impact assessment a large part of our work. We also have a model that scales up, scales down. I believe that our ability to solicit hundreds of millions or billions of dollars into our money engine depends on our ability to show that we're actually helping people. So this is, it's critical to succeeding, and it's critical to us reforming what we're doing. So I'm actively right now looking for community associations and organizations to work through. We've focused a lot on different organizations, on actually East Africa because of the high adoption of mobile money, but I believe that throughout Southeast Asia, this could be popular as well. And so anyone who's interested in learning more about what we're working on or running basic income pilots, please reach out to me, because this is the time to bring some real innovation to the work that you're doing. As I mentioned, and please go to and if you want to learn more about basic income, you can sign up for our newsletter on our website. That's how Matt got to me, is through our newsletter. Follow us on Twitter. Email me if you want to do a pilot, and you can, and hope to hear from many of you and work together one day soon.
Thank you so much, Anna. It was so much to learn there, and I think goes for each of these presentations that we could spend an hour and a half just listening to each of you about your work, because it's so interesting and so different. But I do want to spend a few moments just on questions. We don't have much time. I'm sorry about that. So can I just ask each panelist, can you give me one word to say, if you had to say, what is the one benefit that cash or universal basic income gives? What is the one word that you would say? Maybe Esther.
Dignity.
Tahmina?
Yes, dignity and choice. More freedom and dignity.
Thank you. And Noia? Oh, you're on mute.
I've got you, Noia. You're off mute. Go ahead.
What's your word?
Yeah, I would say sustainability, because
Fantastic. Thank you. And Anna?
Freedom.
Freedom. Wow. Okay, some really powerful words there. And a lot of other questions have been coming through around actually how to make this happen given the sector that we work in, donor requirements, how to reach people in rural areas that might not be included financially. a lot of questions around how to convince people that it works. So there's lots of these challenges that people are pointing out in their questions. What would you say to people that are struggling with these questions, these challenges? What would you say to help them convince donors, communities that it works, but also practically to make it work? Maybe let's go to you, Esther, for a little bit on that.
I think one thing I have seen so far, you know, starting from the beginning when cash was shut down quite a lot because every organization had its own priorities and mandates, and it was a new thing. But what really helped was collective advocacy. So that's where, you know, you're not just advocating to donors or government as one organization, but coming together, you know, with other members of the community of practice, coordinating together, then you're doing research together. It really, I've seen it really help. And now with COVID-19, you know, some governments, as you mentioned, Zabeen, how the Bangladeshi government wage rate, if I may say, is quite low, and you have to stick by that. So I'm seeing a lot of, for example, the country cash working groups coming together, doing letters to government, trying to advocate for increase of that, trying to advocate for vertical and horizontal expansion during these times. So that's something I can really encourage the organizations that are represented here, coming together, coordinating together. It's not very easy because everyone has their own internal mandates, but when you're people-centered, then you will come together and advocate together. There's a power in the masses, I believe. Yeah.
Thank you, Esther. Daniel, you said you've kind of been able to kind of summarize the questions into a few. Do you want to go ahead and share your summary?
Yeah, absolutely. There are lots of questions. In fact, we have 3 different questions all about monitoring and evaluation and evaluating our impact. So we've got questions that were from Uni, from Pragya, and from Milimo, all asking, like, how do you measure the impact of the work when it's related to cash transfer programs or UBI? So that would be the first one.
And that is open to anyone who's worked on this. Any on monitoring evaluation of the impact of cash? Or feel free to jump in as well, Esther or Anna or Novia.
I mean, this really is not my specialty because we don't run the on the ground monitoring, impact, and evaluation. But I will say there are around 40 different pilots that have been done focused on universal basic income, each one of them across different types of economies, okay? So some that deal with more impoverished populations, others that actually operate in more wealthier economies. And they continuously, I would say they continuously show the same things, which is that regardless of where people spend their cash, it's it's not really about where are you spending your money. It's actually about the outcomes of that, which is that people feel safer, people feel less stressed, people have better health outcomes, people have better education outcomes. And I think that this has been found across every single economy that these have been run in, whether it's in Finland or whether we're talking about in Kenya. And so I think that the monitoring and evaluation policies, obviously you're going to be, measuring differently depending on where you're operating. But continuously, we see the same results in terms of the outcomes on the people that are in the study. And I encourage you guys all to, if you're interested in looking more about the outcomes, Scott Sampton is someone who very much, who's an American and focuses on the outcomes of basic income in advanced Western economies. It's actually a great indicator for how freeing this could be for people at the lower income levels as well. And when you see how much it benefits people who already are relatively economically secure.
Thank you, Anna. And you actually reminded me of a resource that Cash and Learning Partnership has put out, which is a website called The Power of Financial Aid. And it kind of does, sorry to speak for you, Esther, it's only because I want to get to another question, but it's an amazing website that Esther has also been involved in her work with CALP, and it puts together a lot of the studies to show that it works, so that almost we don't have to prove that it works anymore. We know that it works. Another question, Daniel?
Yeah, great. We have 3 different people who are asking specifically about how to get how to do cash transfer programs in rural areas and what limits that. So how to actually get cash to the people who need it when they're in extremely rural areas. That's from Chitra, from Banu, and from Musumi.
Is that something that you've worked on, Esther or Tahmina?
Yes, we are
Zabeen, yeah.
While implementing a cash program in the rural area. There are challenges actually. It's not easy. Like, we are thinking about cash in hand. Okay, look at this COVID situation. We can't really do cash in hand. Then what do? You can say, okay, go for mobile money. But think about the literacy rate. Think about the elderly population or the widow and the illiterate women who doesn't have, then the phone ownership as well. Like, people might have a family phone, but not their own phone. So when you transfer mobile money to that family phone, you never know that that lady or our real beneficiary really has access over that asset we are transferring to. So when we are talking about that shifting power through money, we don't really know that our beneficiaries have access to over that asset. So there are challenges, but we are always, it's like when you implement, actually, we try and learn. We try different things, and we do post-distribution monitoring, that how it's working or not, and then we change things. You know, it's always like it's a trial and error basis. We do it because when you work in the rural areas, there are lots of problems. Then think about the cash outlets. You know, mobile money cash. You go to agent. You cash it out, then it might be fraud issues, like you don't really know how much money came to your account, and then you go to an agent point, and then you might be the agent might cheat you. You know, you never know. So there are issues, but we always try and new things and learn, and we always try to put strong monitoring system with the financial service provider as well, not from the implementing partner and the donor side as well, but from the financial service provider. So we come together and we try things, and we also try to communicate with the community. So from UNHCR side, we really try to set up a two-way communication system with our beneficiaries, so that if they face any challenges, that come to us and we can address that in future. So that's what we are trying.
Thank you so much, Tahmina. And it's so interesting because you did share those challenges very well. And we often forget to ask, well, what are the challenges of doing it another way, right? Doing the normal food stuff, because those have amazing, huge challenges that are often, like you mentioned in your presentation, people take the stuff they get and they go sell it in the market for half of what it's worth. So I think what you've presented there is really, really helpful. Maybe one more quick question, Daniel, if you have one.
So we have 3 people asking specifically about like things related to attitudes. So we had T. Robinson asking about donor requirements and meeting them, not funding terrorists. Banu asking about people, you know, not using the cash for something that they're not supposed to use it for. And Claude asking about the attitudes of donors, really, like how can you convince donors or partners to run these sorts of programs. And it's definitely, these are some of the questions that we've faced at United Edge over the last few weeks. So I'd love to hear from the panelists about like how do you deal with people's attitudes, from donors to people on the ground.
Fantastic. just from my knowledge, Noia, I know that this is something that you've had to work with, that to convince donors to give money now, even in COVID-19. How have you done that?
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, COVID-19 pandemic time was like I said, shocking for everyone. But our organization, I think in this case, we are pretty lucky because we already established this, platform called Conservation Cooperative. So it's already built there in the community before this this emergency situation. And when then we got advantage by using this, that we managed to convince donor, but to make sure that the relief aid that we going to distributing, use their money, is going to be used according to the same agreement, like according to the principle of our work or program together with the community, such as like at least not to use the money something that you can buy to destroy the environment, to buy fertilizers or something like that. You know, it's something like that. So I think it doesn't have to be like like something big. It just can explain like a simple way to the community. At the end, you know what, I think when we are talking about communities, community is all of us, people in the village, us, doctor, teachers, that's community, That's, I think it's just, like the difference is just our position now, who facilitate who, But I think in the same way, it's like we have the same mutual, basic needs, and we see how to see the same problems too. I think that's. But so far, Plan Indonesia, I think we are pretty lucky because with the platform, this conservation cooperative that we built together with the community, it's already there before this situation, this pandemic situation. So it helped us to convince this donor to spare some of their money, again, more to help them, our beneficiaries, that farmers, fishermen, crafters, who really got impact on their, livelihoods, like really, yeah. But I think we are lucky at this time. But of course, this, I think this is one of the purpose also we are building this platform, because this also is like a platform resilient for the community to help the community to secure any aid that who will come to them, to how, and then through this they can promise what they can do with the aid according what they want. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna beg just 5 more minutes of your time, if that's okay, everyone, because we did just have one more question that is burning that we'd love to ask. Over to you, Daniel.
Yeah, just Francis asked one question that I thought was a nice one to end on, which is, if an organization is starting to think about running cash programs, or either cash transfer or UBI, what should their first steps be? What are the first 3 steps that they should do? Over to our experts.
Esther, I know that CALP works in this area. What would you say?
I'll answer it, and then I'll request Zabeen to continue, because she has the on-ground experience. But on the theoretical side, first of all, you need to check if cash is feasible in the first place, because it's not always feasible in every context. And then, just like every other programming, you need to get down to the needs assessment. You need to get down to the markets assessment. You need to figure out the security assessment, because sometimes it might be very risky to give people cash in a place where there are gatekeepers, and you know the issue of the terrorism has been brought up. Maybe the money, half or three-quarters of the money might go to terrorism groups. So you need to do all that assessment with the people in mind, with the community telling you what their needs are. As I mentioned earlier, cash programming is just boils down to good programming in general. So the principles of good programming still apply in cash programming. So those are the first, you know, steps. Get down to the people, ask them what they need. Do they want the cash? Yes. So if they want the cash, is it feasible? Is the market working? Is it going to be secure? Are you going to protect them? Look at the gender dynamics in the households. Are you putting maybe women more at risk? You know, and all that. And then once you get all that right, then get now to the basics of the program, you know, get your program logic right, your logical framework, etc.
Amazing.
Over to you, Zabeen.
Any one thing that you would add to that, Tahmina?
Yeah, exactly. She said it right. Cash is powerful, but cash is very risky as well. So you need to think of all those things. And especially, I will just mention one point. After you do the need assessment and the market assessment and everything, your beneficiary, you also check the best cash transfer methodology. Not necessarily that the same methodology will work everywhere. Somewhere mobile money can be the best solution, but sometimes it's not. And then you need to check all these things, that it be a bank transfer, it can be cash in hand. And also you need to think about the money as well. Like you are transferring $1 and you are spending half of it for logistics and other stuff. So you need to check that balance as well, that how much money is really going to the beneficiaries and how much you are spending to deliver it. So all those balances, and finally the protection risk as well. We have seen in our post-distribution monitoring that cash really works for women empowerment. So if you hand cash over to women, actually it goes for the children's education maybe, or the health outcomes become better. But you also need to check the risk of putting women at risk. Like when you are transferring cash, sometimes domestic violence can increase because the power shifts. So you need to check all risk. Please look after that. So that's it.
Fantastic.
So it's all about good programming. You check all the dynamics of a good cash program.
So it's really interesting because what I'm hearing you both say is that when it comes to cash, you got to think about everything you normally need to think about. All of the same good programming stuff, it's no different. You think about the same things, but we know that this tool can be powerful when you do good programming like you do in your other programs. Is that a fair summary? Fantastic. It is, we are a few minutes over now, so I don't want to keep you much longer, but everyone, if you could just shake your shoulders a little bit, because I know we've been in front of the Zoom camera a long time, and I would love to just give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much for giving me your time and your energy to this. Anyone that wants to take their journey further on this topic, you can come to us, but we will also share notes from this call and the recording and information so that you can also be in touch with the amazing organizations that have presented today. And we've had calls from action from Kenya to Tel Aviv to Indonesia and to Bangladesh, Cox's Bazar. So don't be shy. I guess if there's any one thing that I want to just summarize at the end here is just to say that at United Edge, we say this a lot, but in social change, we've got a huge flow of money problem. And that's that if you look at the world today, most of the money is flowing from the majority world to developed economies. If you take just Africa receives around 20 billion in aid every year, and 3 times that is taken out of Africa through illegal means, not to mention the legal means that it's taken out of Africa. So we live in a world that is still exploiting the majority world. From what I've heard today, From what you've shared, Esther and Tahmina and Novia and Anna, is that there is a better way, there are better solutions to this new imperialism. And by redistributing wealth, we not only shift power, but we give dignity to people to make their own decisions. I have heard a lot in the news today. There's been today and in the last few weeks, obviously there's been a lot around the Black Lives Matter movement in the States, but then also spreading around the world. And this idea of reparations, that the groups who benefit today from historic privilege should play a part in leveling the playing field for the groups that are still suffering today from historic oppression. We all believe that humans have rights, and certain rights which are written and agreed by states. Access to money, as we've said already on this call, if it's emergencies or universal basic income, we've seen that it can help people to enjoy their rights. So just my closing rhetorical question is, why would we not give people as a right, as a human, why would we not just give them access to this basic way of enjoying their rights so that we can repair the legacy of oppression and replace it with a just future? That's what I wanted to say about that. For those of you still, yeah, I think we've still got around 40 people in the call. Could you just go to your chat box and just type in the chat box 1 or 2 words around how you're feeling now after this call, based around this topic. How does this topic make you feel? Let's do another waterfall. Inspired, energized. Any other words to share in the chat box? If everyone could just share 1 word, that would be wonderful. Curious, wonderful, ready, confident, amazed, a need to learn more. Great, that's really good to recognize. Inspired more, curious, motivated. It's fantastic. So you've all, if this was your first step into this world, there's, it's already a step well taken. Thank you so much for coming, for your questions, also for the work that you're all doing around the world for justice. And we'll send the follow-up resources, as I mentioned. Someone says should have another panel. We will have another panel. Will is our guru in this regard. So will be helping us to set up the next learning space, which will be something around the idea of how to build back better after COVID-19. It will be in probably a month's time or so, and we'll communicate with all of you about that. If you haven't signed up to our Edge of Change bulletin, please do that, because that's where we send the first details about these learning spaces. And for those of you that don't know, we also have 7 justice-based approach trainings coming up across Asia, in Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Sri Lanka. And then next year we'll be headed to 10 countries in East and West Africa to share this justice-based approach training. We would love, any of you that haven't been yet, we would love to engage with you and have you join the 1,000 others that have already started this journey with us. If you want to connect with us for the next session, I'm just looking at the chat. Yes, thanks. There's a subscribe link that we'll paste, and keep an eye on our newsletter for that. Right. In summary, just want to say, the next time you think about helping or supporting others, don't just think about what they need, but how to empower them at the same time. That is the message. Thank you. I think that's all from us. It's been amazing. Over to you, Will.
Let's turn on microphones and say goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye from London.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you to the panelists in particular. Thanks for everyone to join.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Cinderella. Bye, Cinderella. Bye, Michael. Bye, Anita. There's Clodagh. She doesn't want to leave.
It's so nice to see everyone. I know.
Bye, Anita. Nice to see you. Bye, Will. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye, guys. I think you can end it there.
All right. Thanks, Will.
I'll end it. There you go.